Hi. How does autism differ in females? Why do we get misdiagnosed more frequently than men? I'm Nick, and I have a dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD. So why does autism in females present differently? What are the most common autistic traits in females? Trait number 1, social difficulties. Girls with autism struggle socially. In general, we find it hard to read social cues. We tend to be seen as slightly off-centre, and we miss subtleties in communication and body language, which makes us seem a little bit odd and out of sorts to our peers. Autistic girls can often be shy and introverted, but in my case it was due to constant rejection from female peers for trying to be myself. For autistic girls, one-on-one situations are preferable. They're certainly less threatening. Group situations can be challenging for a variety of reasons, and they can cause the autistic person a lot of anxiety. Autistic women are more likely to withdraw into quieter environments and prefer to stay at home and have their nose in a book or take up artistic pursuits. The sense of being different to neurotypical females around can cause intense feelings of loneliness. For me, I don't actually know what it's like to not be lonely, but it's a choice I made because feeling lonely is better than being constantly rejected. Number 2, sensory issues. An autistic person's view of the world, as I've said before, is quite sensory. Autistic women, it's more sensory than that of neurotypical women. We have a higher auditory sensitivity, light sensitivity, touch, smell. These are all things we struggle with. We like to dress comfortably. Please understand that this is a need. We're extremely sensitive to the feeling of clothing against our skin. Pressure, itchiness, scratchiness. So expecting us to dress up like Barbie dolls in tight clothing and totter around in high heels is grossly unfair. Well, actually, an expectation for any female to dress up in a manner that excites you at her expense is disgraceful anyway. Okay, guys? But it's actually quite tortuous, autistic female. I can't actually sleep with a person because the sound of their breathing drives me nuts. Like when I was married, I'd go to bed with my husband, then when he was asleep, I'd get up and go and sleep on the couch. He used to find this really hard. He couldn't understand. And me just saying, oh, well, you just breathe too loudly. That's really not fair on a guy. 3, masking. Although autistic males often mask, females tend to be more prone to this. Women tend to be more sensitive to social requirements and expectations, and as a result, we often try to camouflage our true selves and mimic those around us in an attempt to fit in and be accepted. Autistic people are intensely aware of their differences and often feel like we're aliens on this planet. We don't feel that we belong. We lack a sense of identity, and women tend to try on other identities in an attempt to fit in. 4, Eye contact. Again, this sort of relates back to a female need to be accepted in a group. Autistic females tend to be better at either making or closely faking eye contact. It's something we learn at an early age, but we don't necessarily know what is the right amount of eye contact to give. I've often been accused of freaky staring at people. I can give what, or appear to give, depending on where I'm actually looking, too much eye contact, and that makes people feel deeply uncomfortable. 5. Emotional regulation. Us women, we're over-emotional, right? We go off the handle at the slightest thing. We're so oversensitive to criticism and rejection. Have you ever been accused of being overly dramatic? Yeah. Neurodiverse women are extremely emotional and prone to meltdowns. We are more likely than our neurotypical peers to just burst into tears or lose our temper and start shouting and screaming at you. Listen. Don't get into an argument with us. Understand and don't roll your eyes, because we cannot help our emotionality. There's plenty of research out there which shows that there's actually a poor connection in our brains between the logical frontal cortex and the emotional centre, tucked back here in the amygdala. Emotional regulation and sensitivity to rejection is why we are often misdiagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Number 6. Sleep issues. Neurodiverse people tend to be insomniacs. For me, it's a combination of my mind going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, 24 hours a day with ADHD. And my autistic sensory issues, the light, the sound, and not being able to get comfortable because, you know, there are seams and wrinkles. I'm the princess and the pea. 7. Other mental health disorders. Autistic women, sensitive little chookies that we are, frequently have comorbid mental health issues such as anxiety and or depression. Now, this is largely due to the effort we put in and the resulting strain of masking in an attempt to survive a neurotypical world. It is exhausting. Sadly, women with neurodiverse issues such as autism and ADHD have a much higher rate of taking their own lives. Quite a few don't make it past the age of 54. 8. Special interests. Now, you think, yeah, well, autistic boys are known for their special interests, you know, obsessive single interest in something. Trains, dinosaurs, space, or something typically nerdy. Now that's where female autistic people differ. We have special interests, but we can become intensely interested in a variety of subjects, and the type of subjects we're interested in also differs. Women can often become obsessively interested in a celebrity or a band or a person. Things like psychology, because we are really interested in how the mind works and how people work. Psychology may be a good career choice for an autistic female. We are fascinated by humans. We like to know how and why things work. Autistic females tend to think in a way which I liken to computer programming, like if, then, else. What if? I used to have a whiteboard to help me work out my decisions, and I would use this with my sons when they were teenagers and going and making what I thought were not appropriate decisions in their lives. It was like, well, we're going to sit down and we're going to work through this if, then, else. So what if this happens? And then if that happens, and what if? And this is going to be caused by what if this point here is impacted by this here that you don't see, and this here would be impacted by that, and that would be spinning off from that. So my brain would constantly go off, or does constantly go off, in this spider web of analysis of options on any subject. And that's really hard to actually make a decision when it does that. Attempting manual infinite analyses is time consuming, exhausting, and it tends not to work because the ADHD side of my brain gets bored and then goes, oh, for heaven's sake, we've landed on that one. We are doing that now. And we could be at the point of doing something that's really negative and really dangerous, and we really shouldn't be there. But, you know, ADHD's going, I'm going. Stop analysing things. We are doing this now. And we do. 9. Stimming. Most people stim to a degree, but autistic people stim more often and more noticeably. Stimming is a self-stimulating behaviour, and it's often used as a tool to self-soothe and calm. And it's very important that you allow an autistic person to stim and soothe themselves. Now, autistic females learn fairly quickly in life that hand flapping and rocking are socially unacceptable behaviours. So their stimming can include simple things like hair twirling, picking at the skin, biting fingernails, or pacing. Watch out for the little girl who likes to walk around on her tippy toes. 10. Finally, executive function impairments. This is basically where the part of the brain that controls your working memory is impacted. In people with autism and ADHD, either comorbid or separately, executive function can be severely impaired. This can mean extreme difficulty with your short-term or working memory. For example, I have a galley kitchen and my cooktop is in a nook with no space on either side. This is a big problem for me. Following a recipe, no matter how simple it is exasperatingly difficult. I can have the recipe open on the workbench, all the ingredients chopped up, lined up, prepared in an order, because I have to do that to be able to cook. But then I have to turn my back on them and walk over to the cooktop. Then I can't remember what the ingredients are or what needs to go into the pan next. So I go back and forth, constantly reading and rereading and adding ingredients, then rechecking what I'm supposed to do with them, what temperature I'm supposed to cook them at, and for how long. I'm not able to remember something as simple as saute the onions until they are soft, then add garlic, carrots and celery. I have to read that, pick up the chopping board of pre-prepared veggies, put it back down, reread the instructions, walk over to the cooktop, forget what order I'm supposed to put them back in, go back, check the recipe book, carry them over, pop them in the pan, generally one at a time, going back and forth to double and triple check. It takes me forever to do the simplest thing in the kitchen. And this is frustrating because I kind of like cooking. I like food and I like to do it fresh. So this does impact on my life. I leave the room to get the vacuum and I forget why I've left the room. I see something else and will do that instead. So my house is generally looks like a bomb has hit it. Problems with executive function make day-to-day living a huge challenge for neurodiverse people. So please be kind to us. And if you find this content helpful, please give me a thumbs up or click on the subscribe button below. Thank you for your time. Be well.